Welcome in the second video on the Indian poet Arun Kolatkar. Arun Kolatkar is prescribed in the course for the students of BA Part 2. It is their first paper. And Old Woman is the poem written by Arun Kolatkar. I am Dr. Vinita Bhadoria, Associate Professor of English in Government College, Behror. An Old Woman was the poem published in the first collection of Arun Kolatkar's poem, Jejuri, in 1976. This is a short poem of 33 lines. The poem is divided into 11 stanzas. Each stanza consisted with 3 lines. The poet described an old beggar woman in this poem. The poem is the description of two cultures, the New World tourist and the ancient Indian woman. Symbolically, the tourist's initial lack of sympathy for the woman and her travels represents the world's view of the poverty stricken countries of the world. If you cannot see it, it is not there. The tourist intends to make her leave him alone, but is reduced to small change in her hands when he sees the hardships she has to endure. The poem An Old Woman gives a graphic picture of an old beggar woman. The decay of the old woman here symbolizes the decay in our own lives. She grabs hold of the sleeve of a person and tags along with him till the person gives him a coin in alms. Like all other beggars, she insists on getting something from others. She is a poor woman who has lost the promises of her past and is reduced to the present state. The speaker in the poem views her squarely and becomes aware that decay has set in her person. In this poem, the poet is in no mood to give alms, but when he looks at the old beggar woman, he is filled with pity. The old woman has small eyes and wrinkled skin. He imagines everything, the hills, the temples cracking, and the sky falling around the old beggar woman. He too feels himself reduced to the few coins in the old woman's hand. Now I am going to explain the complete poem Old Woman for you. First I read the poem, then I explain it with some difficult words. An old woman grabs hold of your sleeve and tags along. She wants a 50 paise coin. She says she will take you to the horseshoe shrine. You have seen it already. She hobbles along anyway and tightens her grip on your shirt. She won't let you go. You know how old women are. They stick to you like a burr. Some important meanings. Grabs are the clutches. Tags along goes along with. Horseshoe Shrine, a well-known temple in Jejuri. Jejuri is a pilgrimage in Maharashtra. Hobbles, walks awkwardly. Grip, catch, tightens, holding tightly. Wretched, useless and bad. Now the explanation. Jejuri is a pilgrimage and it is the first collection of Arun Kolatkar poems. It is consisted with 31 poems. Jejuri is near Pune. It is a sacred place and famous temple there is dedicated to deity Khandoba. There are temples of other gods as well. There are beggars in every place of pilgrimage in India and Jejuri is no exception. Poet describes his encounter with an old beggar woman at Jejuri. Beggars are a common sight at Jejuri. At Jejuri, an old beggar woman catches holds of the poet's shirt sleeve and gives it a pull. She walks along with the poet and demands a 50 paise coin as alms. It is difficult for the poet to get rid of this pitiable old beggar woman. At the same time, she promises to act as a guide against those 50 pies. She says that she will take the poet to the horseshoe shrine, a temple, which is a part of the pilgrim shrine Jezuri. The beggar woman tightly holds the shirt sleeve of the poet. She walks hobbling lamely, along with the poet and tightens her hold on his shirt. She doesn't let the poet's shirt sleeve go. She doesn't allow the poet to move unless he gives her alms of a 50 pice coin. The poet remarks that all of us have experienced such persistent old beggar women. They adhere to the people like burr. Stick like burr. Like a burr is a simile. A burr is a plant, the stalks of which clings to a person who touches them or stands too close to them. Horseshoe shrine is another name in these lines, is the name of a particular place of worship at Jezuri. There is also one poem in Jezuri having the title The Horseshoe Shrine. Jezuri is the collection of the poem written by Arun Kolatkar. You turn around and face her with an air of finality. You want to end the farce. When you hear her say, "What else can an old woman do on hills as wretched as these?" you look right at the sky, clear through the bullet holes she has for her eyes. And as you look on, the cracks that begin around her eyes spread beyond her skin. Turn around, turn to look at the old woman. Air of finality means he wants to end this wretched, useless. Bullet holes, here it means the old woman's eyes, because she had very small eyes. As you look on, the cracks that begin around her eyes. Cracks due to the old age comes on the face. In the previous stanzas I have explained you that a beggar woman is holding the sleeve of the poet and asking for money as a begging. She's begging for money, and he encounters that old beggar woman who is very persistent in asking the poet for a 50 pice coin. Now, the situation is the poet is facing a very strange situation. A begging woman has held his shirt sleeve very tightly in the previous stanzas. She does not let the sleeve go and walks with the poet in a limping manner, lamely. The poet turns about and gives an impression that there is nothing more to be said or done. This is how he wants to put an end to the farcical situation. He wants to end the situation he is facing. The old woman very pitifully puts a question to the poet. She is asking a question to the poet, holding her shirt. What else can an old woman do on hills as wretched as thee? Because there is no source of her income except what she gets by begging. She is miserable and unfortunate like the wretched hills around her, useless hills. When the old beggar woman asks a question to the poet, he is really touched at heart. He first of all looks at the sky, then he looks at the very small eyes of the old woman. You look right at the sky, clear through the bullet holes. Her eyes are as small as holes made by the bullet of a gun. Then he looks at the wrinkles around her face and around her eyes. These wrinkles and cracks spread beyond her eyes. The poet means to say that the old beggar woman has wrinkles and cracks which are very deep and spread beyond her eyes also. The poet was unwilling to give her alms. It seemed to him that the old woman's miserable condition and his refusal to give her alms have combined to cause sudden cracks beyond her eyes, in the hills and in the temples. Last three stanzas of poem, very important also. And the hills crack, and the temples crack, and the sky falls with a plate glass clatter around the shatterproof crone who stands alone, and you are reduced to so much small change in her hand. These are the concluding stanzas of the poem. The poet is in Jejuri. In previous stanzas, he meets an old beggar woman who asks him to give her a 50 paise coin. The poet is not in mood to give alms. The old beggar woman tightens her hold on the poet's sleeve. The poet looks at her with an expression of finality, indicating his refusal to give her any money. But the woman still does not leave him and says that a poor old woman has no alternative but to maintain herself on the charity of people. Now, in these lines, poet says that he looks up at the sky, and a moment afterwards he once again turns his gaze upon her, indicating his unwillingness to give her anything. He undoubtedly feels overwhelmed by his feelings but is still unwilling to give her any money. It seems to him that her poverty and his refusal to give her any money have combined the cause to sudden cracks in the hills and in temples as on the face of that beggar woman. He even gets an impression that the sky has fallen down to the earth with a loud sound. Plate glass clatter. Shattering. Shattering is tutna, breaking. Everything except the withered old woman who alone stands before him. At this, he thinks that he himself has been reduced to a nonentity, a person of no significance at all. He feels himself as unimportant as the small coins which the old woman has collected from other pilgrims and which she is holding in her hand. The sky falls means the sky seemed falling to him. Plate glass. Plate glass is a glass made in large flat piece which is used especially to make large windows and doors. Clatter. Clatter is continuous series of short loud sounds of hard objects hitting each other. खड़खड़ाने की आवाज. Shatterproof. Unbreakable. Crone. crone is the word used for an old woman. Reduced to means felt that he was a lowly person. These are the last lines. And you are reduced to so much small change in her hand. And you feel as if you have been reduced to a nonentity, a small change. Nonentity is a small change. Literally means the coins of small denominations which people have given to this old beggar woman and which she is holding in her hand. Metaphorically, a small change means insignificant or trivial. The portrait of the old woman in this poem is very vivid, very realistic, very convincing, and very interesting. The poet has used the right words to draw the portrait of the lady, the old woman, and he has depicted the woman's behavior and his own reactions to her most effectively. Thank you so much for seeing this video. Thank you.